Hey everyone, welcome back to the Wholesome 3D YouTube channel. So glad you guys and girls can join me today. So I need to start off by apologizing for the long wait between my previous video and this video. I have been kind of busy, and the good news is I've been busy with a lot of 3D animation stuff. So I'm currently busy with a 3D animation project. It's more like an experiment, but you guys will have to stay tuned for that one. I'll be doing that in my next video. And then I've also been developing my own 3D animation tool, which I'll be sharing with you guys later on in this particular video. So stay tuned for that. And for those of you who don't know, we're currently busy with a series entitled Unreal for Beginners. And thus far, we have done 3 videos. This is the 4th video. In the last 3 videos, we started off with video 1. I showed you guys how to install Unreal Engine. So if you're not sure how to do that, have a look at that particular video. And in the second video, we looked at the user interface for Unreal Engine. And in the last video, we looked at Reallusion's AutoSetup plugin. We looked at how to install it and how to use it. Today, we're going to continue with the series, and we're going to focus on Reallusion's Live Link plugin. So today I'm going to show you guys how to install the Live Link plugin, and then how to transfer your characters, your objects, together with the animations from Live Link into Unreal Engine. I'll show you guys how to record that particular animation inside Unreal Engine. And then finally, if there's time in this particular video, I'm going to show you guys my workflow, and I'll share with you what the strengths and the weaknesses of both the Unreal AutoSetup plugin and the Live Link plugin is. So for me, I find that using the two together works out best rather than focusing on one or the other. And I'll point out to you guys what the strengths of each of those particular plugins are, and we'll look at that and close this video out. So thanks so much for joining me, guys. Let's continue into this next tutorial as we look at how to install Unreal Live Link. Okay, so let's get started with the installation process. So installing the Live Link plugin is slightly different from installing the AutoSetup plugin, which we looked at the last time, mainly because the Live Link plugin can be installed through the Reallusion hub. Now, before we get started, if you're not sure what the difference between Reallusion's AutoSetup and Live Link plugins are, then I would suggest you have a look at my previous tutorial. So as with the AutoSetup plugin, the Live Link one also needs to be installed on both sides. In other words, you've got to install it inside iClone and also inside Unreal Engine. Alright, let's get started with the installation on the iClone side. So this time around, as I mentioned before, we're going to use the Reallusion hub to install it. So open up the Reallusion hub. Once inside there, you can open the iClone tab. Now click on All, which you'll find under the add-ons, and then scroll down to Unreal Live Link, and now all you're going to do is simply click the install button and it will automatically start downloading. So at this point, I just want to recommend that you install any version of the version 1.21, because after that version, Reallusion did some major updates to the plugin, and it's definitely improved the shader settings quite significantly, which will require less work for you after importing. So just for interest sake, I am currently exporting from iClone 8.3 to Unreal Engine 5.1. Alright, there we go. The installation on the iClone side is done, and I just installed version 1.21 as I've mentioned. Okay, that takes care of the iClone side. Now we need to install it on the Unreal side. So to do that, we're going to go onto the Unreal Engine Marketplace, and let's find the plugin. Alright, now that we're inside the Unreal Marketplace, let's sign in. Now we're going to click on Open in Launcher. Alright, it's looking for permission. Let's click Allow. Okay, while it's launching, let's head over to iClone again just to make sure that our plugin was properly installed. And then, yeah, we can also open up our iClone project on that side while it's busy doing its work here in Unreal. So the installed Live Link plugin can be found under the Plugins tab, which you'll find above. Now we're going to scroll down to Unreal Live Link and open the side arrow. Now, click on Unreal Live Link to open up the Live Link window. Okay, here it is at the bottom. Let's open it. So immediately you'll see it has 2 tabs, one for transfer and one for link. And for now, let's just open up the iClone project. Okay, so I'm not a fan of the small thumbnails. Let me just increase the size quickly. You can do that by right-clicking and then click Toggle View. Alright, I'm happy with the medium thumbnails. So my bus arriving scene is really big, and this actually forced me to create 3 different projects. Otherwise, my project would simply lag and lag and lag. So just to break those 3 projects down for you, I've got project 1A, and this includes our main character, which is Erin, and then the bus, as well as Tara, which is also one of our key characters. And then my project 1B includes all of my extras, all the other characters on the bus, and they're made up of about 8 low-poly teen toon characters. And then the third project is 1C, and this is made up of our bus stop and then our 2 background vehicles, as well as our 2 medium poly characters waiting on the bus to arrive. So in my last tutorial, we transferred all the items in 1C over to Unreal using the AutoSetup plugin. Today, we're going to focus on transferring projects 1A and 1B using Live Link. Alright, back to Unreal. There we go. Looks like the installation to Unreal is complete. Now let's slot into Unreal 5.1 and click install. There we go. And finally, same as the last tutorial, we now need to manually copy the Reallusion CC shaders and the plugin files into the relevant Unreal Engine project folders. Unfortunately, you've got to do this every time you create a new project, but it's quite a simple process. You've got to just find the folder and copy and paste it. If you don't know how to do that, you can check out the tutorial I did the last time. Perfect. Both are ready, so let the transfer begin. So to start the transfer process, it will obviously start inside iClone. So let's open up our iClone project once again. So we're going to start by transferring our two main characters, Erin and Tara, over to iClone using the Live Link plugin. So inside the Unreal Live Link window, select the Transfer tab. Now we're going to select only Erin and Tara from the tick boxes. And then the settings is quite important. So the settings will determine the quality of your character or object inside Unreal, but will also determine how long the actual transfer process will take. So let's have a look at our transfer file settings by clicking on the icon over here. So you can change a number of these settings. You can start by changing the size of your texture image or your image textures here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with a 1K with the hope of having a quicker transfer. And I'm using that because I'm only transferring toon style characters. Now, if you're going to transfer more realistic characters, you may want to use the 2K or the 4K texture maps to get a better quality. Just remember, the higher your texture maps, the longer it will take to transfer. So I also want to recommend that you make sure that the delete hidden mesh box is ticked. Otherwise, you might find your character's body parts poking through the clothing. Plus, by ticking this box, you are ensuring that there's less mesh to transfer, which means your transfer should go quicker. And then the subdivided mesh tick box is also super important. This is where you decide the quality of your character or object that you plan to transfer. So a high poly subdivided mesh will obviously give you a better quality character or object that you're going to transfer. But remember, it's going to take a lot longer to transfer. Before we do the transfer, we first need to prepare our Unreal Engine project for the live link. So over in Unreal Engine, the first thing I normally do is I set my project to unlit so that I can save on resources. And then I'll open up my project file. My project in this particular case will be found in my contents folder. Once my project is open, the next thing I normally do, and this is because I have limited resources, is I open up the task manager in Windows. And to do that, I press Ctrl Alt Delete, and then I go into processes. This way I can keep an eye on my RAM, which is a big problem for me, to make sure that iClone and Unreal Engine has enough RAM to be able to do the transfer. If, like me, you find your project crashing while transferring, then it's usually because you don't have enough RAM on your PC. Once I've done that, I would now open up the live link, and to find the live link, you'll go to the top window, you'll find it under Virtual Productions, and down there you'll find the live link tab. Click on that. Now we got to get the link going. If you look inside there, you'll find the iClone live link. Once you're in there, you can just click on it and click OK, and there we go. Our link is there, it's connected. Now we can start the transfer of our two characters. All right, once we're happy with our settings, we can now transfer our characters over to Unreal Engine. And to do that, we got to click on the transfer file button. Okay, now we let the transfer and the long wait begin while we pray that our system doesn't crash.
Many minutes later.
Okay, finally our transfer is complete. So now we're going to hop over to Unreal Engine. And let's have a look at how we receive the transfer inside Unreal Engine. So for interest's sake, it took my two characters roughly 45 minutes to be transferred, which is not bad, bearing in mind that I've only used 1K images and I used a subdivided mesh. My subdivision, just for interest's sake, was on a level 1, which is sort of the entry-level subdivision. And that's how I managed to pull off a 45-minute transfer. So our two main characters have been transferred, and you'll find the folder under All, Contents, RL content, and then of course there's a relevant folder for each of our characters. So I'm just going to change my Reallusion contents folder to a green color so that I can recognize it much easier. And to do that, as I mentioned in my last tutorial, you right click, scroll up to set color, and then let's select green. Now in your case, you might not see the green color there. You'd need to go to new color and then choose your color from the color picker up that side. For the sake of saving some system resources, I put my Unreal Engine project lighting to unlit. I'm going to just take it off from unlit and set it back to lit again, so that we can actually see the real quality of our characters. Now let me see if I can bring both windows onto the same window so you can see the iClone and the Unreal side. Alright, now we got to activate the live link by clicking on the link tab in iClone. And we're only going to highlight the characters and objects we want to link. In our case, it's obviously Erin and Tara, so I'm going to make sure that those two buttons are glowing. And once I've done that, I can click activate link, and boom, the magic is activated. There's our friend Erin, and he is ready and reporting for duty. Alright, so to seek Erin here, I'm going to just hide our friend Jay over here. Now, if I hit the play button in iClone, Aaron will start animating inside Unreal Engine. And already we can see some materials that don't quite work or import properly, the eyes being the most obvious one. So I'm going to do a separate video covering the various fixes, including the eyes, the hair, and the clothing, and mesh poke through and animation struggles that you might find when you transfer. So this is where I would normally spend time fixing any anomalies that may have occurred between the animation in iClone versus what we see in Unreal Engine. So often you'll find if you click play in iClone, the blinking doesn't work properly, or the eyes go through the mesh, or especially when your character's interacting with objects, you need to just move things around and double check, triple check your animations inside Unreal Engine and fix those up inside iClone. And there we go, you can actually see our Aaron character fully animated inside Unreal Engine. And you'll see he's got some body animations as well as some facial expressions. And at this point, I would like to do some promotion on the product I was alluding to earlier on. So I created the Ultimate Expressions pack. And all the facial expressions you're seeing on Aaron at the moment now was all done with this particular pack. And this pack boasts 140 expression sliders, including 35 negative expressions, like annoyed, baffled, or disgusted, as well as 35 positive facial expressions like elated, enticed, snicker, and smitten. And all of these expressions can simply be done by dialing up the particular slider. This expression pack includes some setting changes as well. So if you are annoyed by the eyelashes, you can actually move them around without leaving iClone. As well as the teeth. And then I've got 10 mouth closed expressions as well, which is obviously meant for talking characters. And there's a whole lot more to the bundle, including this toon character as you see him here. Aaron is part of the bundle, including his outfit as well. And then I've also created 2 facial expression profiles, one for a more toon style character like our friend Aaron here, and one for a more realistic character. And all of this comes together in one bundle. And guess what? It's available for less than $20 on the Reallusion marketplace as we speak now. It's on a special at the moment, 26% saving. And yeah, so I would suggest hopping over there, supporting the channel, and then supporting yourself, because these facial expressions has got a lot of good reviews from all the people that have used it in the last couple of months. But if you want to find out more about the pack, I will also leave the link in the description below where you can actually find out more about this particular pack. So yeah, that's my promotion. But moving on with our tutorial, let's have a look at how to actually record these particular expressions and animations inside Unreal Engine. So I'm going to show you guys the more accurate way to record your animations inside Unreal, and that is by using Reallusion's new timecode sync method. So to use the timecode sync recording, you got to prepare yourself in iClone. So inside iClone, open the project settings window by hitting Ctrl, Shift and P. So the first thing I do is I make sure that my play mode is set to once, and then my time mode is set to by frame. Now what this does is it actually plays back your animation frame by frame, giving Unreal Engine more time to record it more accurately. So that's quite important. And then finally, ensure that your time units are set to time, not to frame. Once you've got those 3 settings correct, you can then close the window. Now we've got to prepare ourselves for the recording inside Unreal Engine, and to do that, you've got to do a couple of things. In fact, the first thing you're going to do is open up the Take Recorder, and you'll find the Take Recorder under the window, Cinematics. There we go, Take Recorder. Alright, let's start by changing the name of our recording. I'm going to change mine to Aaron Waiting, and I'm going to call it Take 01. There we go. Now to activate the timecode sync in Unreal, we need to make sure that the 2 plugins are activated, and this is very important. So to check your plugins, go to File, Plugins, and now you can do a search for Media, M-E-D-I-A. Alright, now let's scroll down and find the 2 plugins we're looking for. So the one plugin is called Media Framework Utilities, and the other one is called Media I/O Framework. So make sure that both of those boxes are ticked for that. Mine is already ticked. If you haven't done so yet and you just ticked it now, you're going to have to unfortunately reopen your Unreal Engine project. You'll be prompted to do so, so reopen it. And once you've done that, you can join us as we continue with the Take Recorder settings. So next we have to make sure that our Take Recorder settings is also set to timecode sync. So open the Take Recorder, click on the settings icon, and in the details panel below, you'll find the recording clock source. Now you're going to make sure that timecode is selected. Once you've done that, you've got to open up the actual media framework window to ensure that the timecode sync is set. Now this step is very important, and this particular step will automatically set the syncing into place, and you'll see both programs will be syncing in terms of the animation and the timing. And then finally, we can actually start the recording. So inside the take recorder, select your character or whatever objects you want to animate and add them into the take recorder. Okay, and when you're ready, you can hit the red record button. Okay, now all we're going to do is hit the play button inside iClone and the animation will start playing and it will automatically start the recording. Once your animation is complete, you can click the stop button. And that's it, the recording is done. So you'll find your recorded take in the default folder, which you'll find under the content, cinematics, and text folder. So I use the same process to transfer the school bus with all of its animations, as well as all of my extras. I transfer them all using the same method. Okay, before we conclude this tutorial, I want to do one last thing. I actually want to compare the AutoSetup plugin with the Live Link plugin and share with you guys what the advantages and disadvantages of both are, and then finally leave you guys with my workflow and how I use both of them and the advantages to make my transfers complete. So we're going to start off by looking at the advantages of the Live Link plugin. So one of the big advantages of Live Link is the two-way data sharing. What two-way data sharing allows you to do is allows you to tweak and fix your animations very accurately. So as you're making the fixes inside iClone, it gets fixed inside Unreal Engine live, so you can actually see what's happening. And that's also helpful because it also assists, especially when you've got characters interacting with objects or responding to terrain heights. So that can all be fixed inside iClone live while you're using the Live Link plugin. The other thing about this is also you can sort of transfer new motions almost instantaneously by doing the recording, as I showed you guys earlier, and that's obviously a massive time saver. And then the other big advantage of the Live Link plugin is what Reallusion refers to as the timecode sync, which we looked at earlier on. The timecode sync actually allows you to record frame by frame, so you're actually not losing any frames. Now for me, I tried to transfer my bus animations using the old Live Link plugin, and I found that the animations didn't come across smoothly. A lot of my frames were lost. The animation of the bus movement was actually quite bad. But using the timecode sync allowed me to actually transfer it losslessly from iClone into Unreal Engine. And then the other advantage of the timecode sync is you're allowed to do what Reallusion refers to as the multi-pass crowd animation. So for me, I've got all these extras inside the bus, and I was actually able to transfer a number of them in one go rather than doing them individually. That said, there are a number of disadvantages of using the Live Link plugin, and for me personally, I've picked this up. The one is it's very, very heavy on resources. So to have two heavy resource programs like iClone and Unreal open at the same time is very hard on my poor system. Now, if you've got a good system, you're very lucky. But for me, it does become a bit of a problem. And so that's one of the disadvantages. The other one is that you need a lot more screen space. Now, I'm very fortunate to have two monitors. But yeah, if you've got one monitor, you might battle having both windows open. And then the other thing is, and I'm just going to be honest here, even with the timecode sync, which is a big step up from the previous transfer method, I'm still picking up some issues with certain frames. So in this particular case, just have a look at my character here. You can see he's struggling from what I call a jumping chest. I'm not sure what happened here. The problem is, even when I render this with the legacy renderer, it still shows up. So it's not something I can just overlook. And yes, you can possibly fix that inside the timeline. But yeah, that is a bit of a problem. And then the other thing I also want to mention as a disadvantage for the Live Link plugin is that not all your animations are automatically saved. So you need to record it to save it, and that's also quite tricky in itself. Just bear that in mind. Whereas with the AutoSetup plugin, your animation comes in with the actual character. So that's all done for you. And then I don't know if this is just me or it's my PC, but I've also noticed that the AutoSetup plugin seems to be transferring it a lot quicker. So it's a lot quicker to use the AutoSetup plugin versus the Live Link plugin. And again, it could just be my computer or it could just be in my mind, but that's what I picked up as well. And then a very big disadvantage of the Live Link plugin, and this has again been my experience, is for some reason you cannot render your animations in the movie render queue. Now, one of the big reasons I use Unreal Engine is because of the quality of the renders. And even though the legacy renderer is pretty good, you want the best results, you have to render it inside the movie render queue. And so only the legacy renderer works. Now, I did some research and I actually discovered that for some reason, the movie render queue does not render blueprints, only skeletal meshes with animation. So there is a workaround to try and convert your blueprint into a skeleton mesh, but it's a very tedious process and definitely a disadvantage. Whereas with the AutoSetup plugin, to transfer your character and the animations, and that can actually be exported using the movie render queue. Okay, so to conclude, what is my recommendation? Should I be using the AutoSetup plugin or the Live Link plugin? Now, with everything I said earlier on, it's very easy to assume that I don't use the Live Link plugin, but I actually do. So let me talk you through my workflow, and hopefully this will help you guys So what I normally do is I start off with a low quality version of my character. So I transfer my character, a low poly version of my character, using the Live Link plugin. That's where I start off. And then once I've got my Live Link all set up and my character's transferred, I then go live. And this is when I fix my animation. So I fix my eye blinks, my facial expressions, and as I mentioned early on, any interactions with objects or other characters, I fix that up as well, making sure that the result inside Unreal is good. And then I record my animations using the method we just spoke about now. And at this stage, I don't worry about fixing any materials, any textures, or even the physics assets. I don't fix any of that yet. Then what I do is I do a quick animation test by doing a quick render using the old legacy renderer inside Unreal Engine. And then I'll have a look at that particular video and then make sure that I'm happy with the results around the animation. Now, of course, your character's not going to look good because you haven't transferred a good version of the character, but just the animation. So I focus on that as part one. And then when I'm happy with the animation, then I would transfer my character or my object together with the animations using the AutoSetup plug. And this time around, I'll make sure I get the best quality. So I'll use a subdivided character, use the best texture image sizes, and then transfer that character with the animation over to Unreal Engine using the AutoSetup plugin. I'll then import my character or object and animation into Unreal, and then I'll do another test. I'll test the animation again to make sure that the blinks are right, everything's happy. What I found is normally if you fixed everything in the Live Link, it seems to work well when you transfer it using the AutoSetup plugin. And at this stage, I will finally fix up all the materials, make sure my eyes are right, because this is going to be the final version of my character. I will then do the physics on the hair and any clothing parts that needs physics as well. And then finally, I will be able to render my animation out using the movie render queue without any problem. So that's my workflow, and that's how I use both the AutoSetup plugin and Live Link plugin. And I use basically the strengths of both to give me the best and quickest possible result.
Isn't it? This is the best visual we have of the suspect. What do you kids think?
Why us, Principal Peters?
Because you are our school's best newspaper journalists. And I'm sure you'll be able to figure out this mystery.
Alright, that's it for me for this particular tutorial. Thanks so much for sticking with me to the end. I appreciate you being here. And I'm just going to mention it again. If you want to support this channel, please check out the Ultimate Expressions pack, link in the description below. And then if you want to continue to support this particular channel, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And I've got a very nice video coming out next, so stay tuned for that one. I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy it. But yeah, thank you so much for supporting this channel thus far. Appreciate you guys. Enjoy. Bye.
We are in. I love a good mystery.
Yep, let's do it.